Today I'm going to do a review of the Nikon D5000. It's a camera I've had for about 3 months. So first let's take a look at the body of this camera. Back here we see that we have the screen, which is closed right now. It's the only Nikon with a swivel screen. So this means that you can keep it closed to protect the screen. The screen is 2.7 inches. Back here we have the standard controls on Nikons: play, menu, minus, plus, which stand for zoom in, zoom out, or volume up, volume down, that sort of thing. The information button. We have a D-pad right here, which allows you to navigate the menus, photos, files, etc. The LV button, which stands for live view, and I'll show you that. The audio exposure, autofocus button, trash button if you want to delete a file. On the side here we have our connections hidden behind this little plastic door. The top is for a GPS unit, so you can do geotagging on your photos. The middle is a mini USB port, so you can connect your camera to a computer through a USB. The lower one is a mini HDMI port, so you can output your video signal to an HDMI television or receiver. Another button here for the timer. Here we have the flash mode button, or flash compensation button. On this side we have the SD card slot door, spring loaded. So when you push on the SD card slot, it pops out, allows you to grab it out, slide it back in. This is one of the strap holders on this side and that side, so you can do a neck strap. On the top we have the mode selector. Here we have the information button, and this is the flash or exposure compensation button or aperture button. There's a little symbol here that represents aperture. Of course, this is the on and off button and the shutter release button. Let's take a look at the bottom. The bottom houses the battery, which slides out. And of course we have the mount point, so you can mount it on a tripod. And you can see the hinge for the swivel screen down here. Looking at the front, we have the autofocus illuminator. This sends a beam of light at a subject to help the camera focus to see its subject and lock on. This is the microphone on this side. I don't know if you can see it right here. Because this has video capability, it is able to record audio. This is the lens release button. You twist the lens clockwise. While holding that button, the lens comes right off. And there are white marks on the lens and camera body, so you can line it back up again. There you go. One more thing to show you is the flash. There you go, pops up when it's needed. Okay, let's talk specifications. This has the 12.3 megapixel CMOS DX sensor, shoots at up to 4 frames per second, and is capable of an ISO as low as 100 to as high as 6400. Alright, let's talk about the features on this camera. What makes the D5000 unique is this swivel screen, which allows you to view your subject from any angle. Of course, this is only possible because of another feature, live view. And this is the live view button. So let's turn this on and take a look. It will lock open the shutter. Let's take the cap off. It will lock open the mirror, so the camera has direct access to the sensor. And what that allows me to do is view my subject without looking through the viewfinder. Okay, in order to focus on the subject using live view, it uses contrast-based focusing, which is quite a bit slower. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and focus on my Apple logo here. You can see it's working, and there, it found it. Let's go ahead and take a photo. See, as you can see, what happened is it popped open, or it locked down the mirror so it could take the photo. Also with live view comes something that most DSLRs haven't been able to do until the Nikon D90, and that's video recording. And as you can see right now, I have it in live view, and if I hit the OK button, it will start recording. But before I do that, I want to focus on the subject. The reason I want to focus now before I start recording is because there is no autofocus. If you want to focus on while you're recording, you'll need to do it manually, which is very difficult to do unless you're on a tripod. Let's go ahead and focus on my Apple logo again. Okay, now I hit the OK button and I'll start recording. So as you can see, it's recording. It's also recording the audio. And once I'm done here, I'll go ahead and stop it and play it back so you can hear the audio. It's recording at 720p, not 1080p or 1080i. And it's also recording in mono, so the audio quality isn't the best. Okay, let's hit OK to play. So as you can see, it's recording. It's also recording the audio. And once I'm done here, I'll go ahead and stop it and play it back so you can hear the audio. It's recording at 720p. Okay, the speaker on this I didn't mention earlier. Where's the speaker? Oh, this is the speaker right here, which is quite loud, and you can increase the volume if you want with these buttons right here. Okay, let's demonstrate the fast shutter speed on this camera. It's rated at about 4 frames per second. Pretty fast. Okay, let's take a look at the user interface on the Nikon. This is where I believe Nikon excels. When you press the shutter release button, you'll see this menu system, which is very graphical. It shows you all of the settings on your mode. So let's go ahead and switch the mode so you can see what's happening. As you can see, the settings are changing, and if you're in autofocus, you automatically get live data back. So you can see my shutter speed is changing, my aperture is changing. Now if you want to change your settings while you're trying to take a photograph, press the I key right here in the lower left corner. This gives me full control over the settings of this particular mode. So for example, if I want to change the ISO to a higher setting or higher sensitivity, particularly in a night shot, I can go ahead and select ISO and change it to 800. If I want to change this to multiple shots, I can change that, or if I want to go to a 10-second delay, or I want to use my remote, that's the I key again, take me back. You can change the white balance to incandescent, fluorescent, etc. What this camera also does is graphically represent your camera's functions. And you can see here a little representation of the aperture of your camera, and the ring around it is actually the shutter speed. So using the controls here, I can change under shutter priority the speed at my speed of my shutter, and you can see the numerical value changing as I move my scroll wheel here. Now if I go to aperture priority, this allows me to use this toggle wheel to change my aperture. And again, I can go ahead and set it to that aperture, choose I, and change my ISO to 250, change my metering to center, change my image size to basic, whatever I want to do. And I'm all set to take my photo. What's also kind of clever, because you may want to hold your camera at a different angle, it does have an accelerometer, which helps you to orient the display properly. And of course, the camera also knows at what angle you're holding your picture, so your EXIF data will tell your computer to orient it properly. Okay, that's the Nikon D5000. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks again.